Good morning and thank you for joining me. As always, I'm your foul player and you stepped into the foul play land. I wanted to report on a story that's being talked about that was first brought up on worldboxingnews.net. I found out about it through CJ Goodfella and the Cali Enigma. Make sure you subscribe to both of those channels. They both have fine content. And the story is that Anthony Joshua is considering canceling his April 13th date at Wembley for a later date in the US fight against Big Baby Miller. So if you're not aware of what has already transpired, Anthony Joshua was set to fight whoever was the winner of the Derek Chisora versus Dillian White matchup that's coming up here shortly, or part 2 of their matchup, because they already fought one time. Some people who are or some other channels that I've seen in publications, they're trying to make it seem like this could be a potential build-up of Big Baby Miller, which I call bullshit on that. I think it reeks of desperation that they're considering canning the Wembley April 13th date that they've been like pestering Deontay Wilder with, like, so that he could sign a contract. But supposedly they're trying to fill that date with a Amir Khan Kell Brook matchup, and then do a Jarrell Big Baby Miller Anthony Joshua matchup in May or a little bit after April 13th. My thoughts, there's no way that's going to be a pay-per-view match. So Anthony Joshua's first foray into the US market is going to have no pay-per-view presence. They're going to allocate that to being on DAZN, or say that, you know, that's one of the benefits of having DAZN, that you get a quote-unquote pay-per-view worthy fight for free on an app. I also call bullshit on that. I was wondering what kind of effect that would have in the UK pay-per-view market, because obviously it's going to start at a time here in the evening in the US. So more likely than not, that it's going to go on very early in the morning in the UK, because of the 5 or 6 hour time difference from Eastern Standard Time. If this fight does happen in Madison Square Garden or in the Barclays Center, as is rumored, I'm even having suspicions if that's even going to happen in one of those major venues. Maybe Al Heyman is going to put up hurdles, since he has a very strong clout with a lot of these major venues here in the US, but who knows. But yeah, I would love to know, like, if that has a major drawback on the UK pay-per-view. I'm assuming it will, and I would like to see how it gets reported after the fact by the people who report, which is normally Sky, that throws out the numbers of how well these pay-per-views do after the fact. But my assumption is that it's no way a pay-per-view match here in America. It's almost sad that they won't attempt it, like, so you could see how those numbers stack up against Wilder and Fury's matchup. But it is what it is. My questions behind this is, why, if you're trying to make a splash in the US market or in New York, why not fight the guy that Deontay Wilder just fought before Tyson Fury in Brooklyn, which was Luis Ortiz? You know, a lot of people consider Luis Ortiz a top 4 heavyweight in my eyes. And that's between number 2 and number 4 heavyweight to me. You know, why not fight Luis Ortiz? He has a presence here in the US. Jarrell Big Baby Miller doesn't have a presence here in Brooklyn. He's already tried to fight in New York on the undercard of the Danny Jacobs card. That card as a whole was a big time fail. They had to move him out to a Kansas City card where he was also the undercard of that matchup for Brandon Rios. That card didn't do shit either. So it's not like Big Baby Miller has drawing power, with the exception of having a mouthpiece. He's not even like an eloquent speaker. He's a dumbass. Like Jarrell Big Baby Miller, his mouthpiece usually emanates like just childish, like disses, like it's like whack shit. Like it's not even like witty or like thoughtful. It's just like corny shit, like shit that my son would say when he was like 3 or like 6, minus like the profanities and shit, and mentioning like screwing people, Anthony Joshua's mother. But in spite of all that, in spite of the plan that they have to potentially can that April 13th date at Wembley, and that this all seems and reeks of a desperate ploy or something that you're just throwing together, they're still offering a flat fee to Deontay Wilder. And to me, that reeks of the fact that Anthony Joshua doesn't want this fight with Deontay Wilder in Wembley, and maybe not at all. I've said in the past that when they mentioned doing a Deontay Wilder Anthony Joshua match in Wembley, that they're not serious about doing it because they won't maximize the earning potential fighting in the UK market, because that's going to be a hard sell to do a fight in the UK on US pay-per-view at 4 or 5 in the afternoon, which is the time that it would come on in the US. So more likely than not, that wouldn't be a pay-per-view in the US. They would probably try it, but it would just kind of like kill the numbers. So I think every time that they mention doing a Anthony Joshua Wilder fight in the UK, that it's just them saying that they don't really want to fight. Maybe they now they're seeing that their options are like dwindling, that they have to make big US fights or get into the US market somehow. I think it's like done all wrong. Like it's, you know, desperate. It's a desperate measure because of desperate times for MatchRoom and for Anthony Joshua. Like they're trying to force their way into the US market now, and they're gonna have to do it on the heels of Big Baby Miller. Big Baby Miller's trash. You know, why not fight a guy like Luis Ortiz, who's, you know, he's a live body. People are supposedly avoiding him. Dillian White just avoided him pretty publicly. So why not you clean up that mess and then really make a foray into the US market? He'd get my respect for doing that, but he's gonna take on the lowest guy in the totem pole, who some consider a top 10 fighter, and that's struggling to say that. This division's top heavy as it is, and after number 5, you know, there's a very big disparity between those top 4 guys in Anthony Joshua, Tyson Fury, Luis Ortiz, and Deontay Wilder. After that, the talent pool goes down significantly, but it is what it is. You already know, like Anthony Joshua, he's just showing himself to be ass cheeks. But the you know, they're still offering that flat fee offered to Anthony Joshua. Just as recently as 2 days ago, they were still pounding their chest about a flat fee offer to Wilder. Supposedly it's in the $28 million range, which I think Deontay Wilder is going to make about that much for the Tyson Fury match that he just had. So why stoop to making a bigger fight for the same money? You know, and then you're kind of like going with your hat in your hand, like with your tail tucked between your legs. Fuck that. Like for that, you know, run the Fury match back. Could probably make close to 100 million, but that's besides the point. But the plan is kind of weak if it does materialize too, because they had like no confrontation with Big Baby Miller while he was at MSG. I think a lot of this plan has a lot to do with the reception that Anthony Joshua was given in the US when he came this time around, like to watch the Canelo Rocky Fielding match and to do these US interviews. I don't think it went as well as they thought it would. Maybe like the fact that Eric Kelly confronted Anthony Joshua and made him look like a bitch. That, you know, that couldn't help. Maybe he was hearing shit from the MSG crowd about being a pussy. And generally, he's an unknown guy, even on the heels of like talking shit about Wilder, post Wilder Fury fighting. You still ain't shit out here, like in the US. Like, sorry, it's, you know, it just doesn't happen that way. You know, you gotta, you know, really invest in this market, like to be somebody here. Like, people don't care about US athletes. Why are they gonna care about UK athletes that don't make an investment in the US? But yeah, the fact that there was no Miller confrontation, even like a staged one, if this fight does materialize, like it's gonna be like, it's like more like dumb moves made by Matchroom. At least, you know, in your heart of hearts, you probably know you're gonna fight Miller at some point because you're avoiding like any real action. At least stage a bullshit confrontation, like have Anthony Joshua's like security like 10 feet off, like so it could look like it's sort of gangster. But Anthony Joshua doesn't have that in him, I think. You know, and they mention this as a potential buildup of Miller. I don't see it. Like, you know, you can't build up somebody just by Anthony Joshua association when Anthony Joshua needs to build up himself here in the US at least. You know, and Miller, I'm from Brooklyn, Miller's from Brooklyn. Miller's an unknown here. I mean, you mentioned his resume where he fought Dinu and Adamic. Those are nobody fights. Nobody gives a shit. Like, Miller has like no profile here in the US, here in New York. In the UK, he has a somewhat profile, and that's only by his association with Matchroom and with Eddie Hearn bringing him up. But I don't know how they're even going to build up this fight. Like, I think they're going to try to like maybe use the fact that there was a confrontation between the two, like at that DAZN presser, where supposedly Miller said that he was going to sleep with Anthony Joshua's mom. Like I don't know, like if they're going to build this fight or title this fight The One, like, or how they did like Who Will Be King with Tyson Fury and Deontay Wilder, like and what they did with Canelo and Mayweather, like calling that fight The One. Like, are they gonna call this fight like, you know, he insulted me mom, or who knows? This shows another misstep on the part of Anthony Joshua, because he could have been a US pay-per-view sell this past September when he chose to fight Povetkin. That fight did not so great. Did 0 in the US. And now he's making this push to fight Miller, which is going to do 0 in the US too at the end of the day. You know, all these guys like White, Miller, Anthony Joshua, they're super unknown in the US. Like, they could walk into boxing. You know, I'm not even going to put like how Anthony Joshua was just in Central Park and nobody knew who he was. He was on the train. Nobody knew who he was. But those dudes, for the most part, could walk into a boxing gym and nobody's going to know who they are. I mean, Anthony Joshua, they may know somewhat, but Dillian White, Jarrell Miller, they could go into a boxing gym with boxing gear on and nobody's going to know who they are. They're just going to see some big-ass dudes with boxing gear on, but nobody's going to rush them. Even if people knew who they were, like, at best, maybe somebody's going to ask them for, like, to take a picture with them. Like, who, you know, and that's just basically because people are fiends and want to make it seem that they're important on Facebook or on Instagram. But fighting Big Baby Miller is going to build up 0 collateral for AJ in the US. You know, like, Miller doesn't sell here. Like, I mean, he's not a draw. So, I mean, like, I'm kind of like basking in it because they're just throwing together plans. They're gonna have to like find the venue in spite of Al Heyman, which is gonna be a tough sell. You know, Eddie Hearn could let sleeping dogs not lie. Now Al Heyman's going into his market. Now they're gonna have to look for a venue in Al Heyman's market. Good luck with all that. So we'll see what becomes of this. I mean, like, they were touting that April 13th date for a while. I mean, it's gonna be really funny, like, if they have to can that, and what their like selling point is gonna be, or what their reasoning is gonna be if this does materialize. Like, they're gonna say something about the roof at Wembley not being functional. Who knows? But I was scouring through the AJ dick riding channels. They usually take 2 or 3 days to try to like come up with something like clever to say, or something that's very pro MatchRoom and pro Anthony Joshua. The only one I could find is my arch nemesis, that piece of shit, Fresh One Counter Punch. If you don't know who he is, he's an American black dude who these dudes get propped up by these Hearnites and these Matchroom fanatics and AJFanboys as guys who are from the same cloth as Deontay Wilder, as far as being American black men who side with the Matchroom bullshit. But his take on it was, and I'm talking about the Counter Punch, was that that Dillian White deserves the fight and he deserves a nice payday, and that Big Baby Miller deserves a fight. That it's time for him to collect a nice $5 or $6 million payday, and that he's charismatic. That Big Baby Miller sells himself. Like, give me a break. He was talking about like what these ticket sales will do in comparison to Deontay Wilder's ticket sales. Like, doesn't bring up the pay-per-view or the lack of pay-per-view numbers that this could generate or that it won't generate. But in the video, you could tell like he's like stressing. Like, you could tell he's actively working his little Uber job that he could probably got going on. His eyes are all shaking and he's sweating, like wiping the sweat from his nasty ass face. And I always like talk shit on this dude's like Facebook videos. Like, I'm not one of those guys, oh, I'm not gonna show up like to somebody's like Facebook to give him a view. At the end of the day, one view ain't shit. Like, if I could leave a negative comment. But I don't think my negative comment, maybe he blocked me from doing negative comments, but I used to always talk bad about his dirty ass house, because he has like mad greasy walls, like shitty ass looking, like just dirty looking, man. You could tell like there's like some sort of fungus growing on his walls. I would talk about his receding hairline all the time, which you can see in any of his current videos. You could tell he does like his shape ups like with one of those blue Bic razors, like the little 25-cent joints that you get in the corner store. But he's rocking like this plastic Missy Elliott fake leather jacket, like a wannabe like Vance and motorcycle jacket, like in the video, doing his little Uber thing, looking like a straight bum, like always, nasty ass teeth. He's just a clown, bro. That's what you call a real kazoon, buck dancer, like probably fat white baby mom, apologist from hell, bro. Like, you know, you could tell like in while he's doing his little Uber thing that he's probably trying to yuck it up with his white customers, like trying to kiss their ass, and he's probably like telling his black customers to keep it down in the back, like, or tell them not to touch the windows. Like, you know, he's just an asshole. I can't stand that dude. Can't stand all these AJ apologist channels, and it's gonna be fun like to see like where they go, or like what bullshit they got to come up with, like with Hatman, like 15 million. I can't stand Hatman too. Fucking, he was sort of okay before, and like now he's a Matchroom cheerleader. All these cats, particularly the American ones, like that Boone Man dude, dirty looking motherfucker. This nasty ass fingernails. Like, can't stand dudes that wear hoodies indoors or like while they're driving cars. It's just corny as fuck. You're looking to get like pulled over. Like, I mean, I can't even walk with dudes that rock hoodies, man. Like, it gotta be really cold, like, for you to even like walk with me without me saying something to you, like, about wearing a fucking hoodie, man. That shit's just hot box, bro. I don't like to be messed with by like police. I don't even want to be looked at. And like this dude's rocking a hoodie like in his car with his dirty ass fingernails, man. Like nasty ass teeth too. It's another thing like with these I don't know if that's like a trend with these AJ apologist channels that are done by like American black cats, man. It's like their girls be looking messed up, man. Like, man, I'm not one to critique, man. I only critique when with uncleanliness. Cleanliness is godliness, man. These dudes they're marching to the tune of devils. So fuck them. Fuck Boone Man or Coon Man. Fuck Coonter Punch. Fuck who else? Like Hat Man, Wreck Bob McGregor. All these pussy ass channels, man. Fuck all of y'all. And I'm not saying like, you know, y'all be throwing like little side shots like oh fuck the LDVC, like, or talking. I'm talking shit about you, motherfucker. Like you're a fucking cornball. Especially that fresh one, Coonter Punch, man. Fucking, you can look in his eyes, you can tell he's a cornball, bro. Like fucking bullshitting, looking around like every time he's making a video, cause he knows he's lying, bro. Stunting ass dudes, bro. Can't stand y'all. So I want to see what happens when AJ eventually gets beat, or when these numbers come up for these fights and they're shitty, like I expect for them to be. Like what y'all have to say then. But until then, fuck all you herbs. Fat shout out to the real boxing community. Fat shout out to the almighty LDBC. Make sure you subscribe to my channel, to all these other fine channels that the LDBC has to offer. With that, I'll say have a good day. Peace.